and hello, my friends. Welcome back, dearly beloveds, to the Historic American Building Survey, Michigan, where we left off, feeling rather dismayed at the strange selection, as ever it were, on these heavily curated documents which have trickled down to the various powers that be into our outstretched arms to see what we can see and construct an idea of our past, reading between the lines of what they try to tell us, yes? And it is up to you to be the arbiter of truth. You there, my fine fellows. I am merely the narrator, recklessly speculating my way across the country and the world, and filibuster almost complete. Oops. And by God, we've arrived. Hallelujah. This is the CW Post Office building. And I'm sorry, but the drop-off box for the public is on the 5th floor. So, yeah. You might think you're almost there, but you ain't. If my memory's correct, I think it's this room right here. So, you got a ways to go still. Hope you brought a Gatorade. This Post building is the last remaining building of the complex, which consisted of a garage, a tavern, theater, and they've all been demolished at the time of this survey, which was 1980 or so, maybe earlier. And this building actually is scheduled for demolition as well. Yeah, early part of 1985. So they're going to build a heavily landscaped parking lot, so they say. I've never seen a heavily landscaped parking lot, so I'm guessing that's just how they sold it to the public. But this is the city of Battle Creek in Michigan, so we already start out with a bit of a bummer. You know, here's I'm gonna go ahead and give you this little write-up in place of the actual building, which was very cool. Look at these brick streets, too. This is awesome. I wonder if this downtown, these probably been paved over by now, asphalt. R.T. Newberry was the constructor of Chicago, Illinois. He was the son-in-law of the Honorable E. Nichols of Battle Creek. And the original plans appear to have been lost. Extensive research, including communication with the previous building owner, indicate that no plans are available about that. It was added onto at one point in 1913, and there was a bridge also which connected the building with the Tavern Hotel across the street. Mr. Post came to Battle Creek to enter as a patient, the Battle Creek Sanitarium established by John Harvey Kellogg. He was emaciated, discouraged, and a chronic invalid, seeking the healing properties that the sanitarium was growing famous for, which was an emphasis on good nutrition through the use of toasted grains. That's that right, Mr. Kellogg. Serving a man named Post toasted grains. It was from this environment that Post was revived, either by its treatment or its incentives, along with his interest in Dr. Kellogg's food processing experiments. Ah, yes, it was the food processing experiments that saved him. So he started his own experiments, and by 1985, the Post cereal company was originated. I was just speculating, but it turns out to be absolutely true. This is Post and Kellogg. This is how they came to be. What a silly story. He then proceeded to promote his products, Post drink and grape nut cereal, through extensive advertising, which actually grape nuts is my favorite cereal, man. And I'm a real nerd for that, I know. But basically, by 1902, his worth had grown to that of a millionaire, and based on this success, promoters descended on Battle Creek to get in on the bonanza. And within a 2-year period, over 80 cereal company names were registered, thus beginning the cereal boom. The best of these cereal companies were the Maple Flakes Company, which became the Ralston Purina Company, and the Corn Flake Company, which is actually known as the Kellogg Company now. Mr. Post continued to promote his products on an ever-expanding scale, traveling nationwide into foreign countries such as England. And this provided the impetus for his development of the downtown, building the Post Tavern, and as we've said, all the other Post things. He was interested in the growth of the city, and that's why this is the Post Office building, not the Post Office, like I originally thought. It's simply the Post Office building. Wow, that's not confusing. But that does make the Post Theater and the Post Tavern make more sense. So yeah, I lied about that. The mail drop box doesn't exist. It's just the Office of Post cereal. At one point, he promoted a post-check currency bill, which was a proposed currency, which a concept which allowed paper money in small denominations to be purchased at the Post Office and exchanged like any other money. And when it's signed, could be sent safely through the United States Postal Service. He appeared before congressional committees many times to advocate for this. Around 1906, he relieved himself of the duties which gave him control and the freedom to roam about the land and pursue political and other outside interests. Eventually, he retreated depressed to his summer home in Santa Barbara, California. And eventually, on May 9th, 1914, he committed suicide, sadly, after continued bouts with pain and depression. Just goes to show you, folks, all the grape nuts and the money in the world still doesn't bring happiness. Which I'm not surprised about the money, but I would have thought the grape nuts, maybe. It sure seems like it'd make me happy. Anyway, it's gone now, and apparently Kellogg World Headquarters is also going to build a building there. That's what the parking lot's for. So I guess he kind of got defeated by the same competitor / guy that lifted him up out of depression. Toasted Grains for the win. Beautiful building, though. Really is. It's a shame that they are putting a parking lot where it stands. I mean, depressing. Lots of that in Michigan here. If I recall, we ended the last one on some notes of some sad parking lot. They've demolished amazing theaters for parking lots. Look at these little lion horse spouts and everything, water spouts. What a cool building. And this is part of the basement, which is kind of interesting because of the construction techniques. Looks like it was made out of a totally different material. It's like fieldstone or something. Or rubble. And that is just too bad that a nice building like this had to go the way of the dodo. Wooden panels and everything. Wow, look at that. Even the crown molding on the bathroom stalls. How classy little water closets there. And this is a shame. At least they went and took some thorough pictures to show us exactly what we'll be losing shortly in our past, which is actually the future, according to these photographs. Have a doorknob. But yeah, that's all she wrote. Sad story. Building and man both ending in complete defeat. This is, I guess, supposed to be a construction photo? Maybe of the bridge part? Speaking of bridges, wonderful segue. It's almost like I planned it. But no, in this case, life just handed me fully formed lemonade. How fortunate. Sometimes it be like that, just when you think it don't be. This here's a bridge, and there are many. And I cannot tell the difference between this one and many of the other ones that we are presented with in this survey. So we're just going to look at the nice detailing in the railing and move on. Because, otherwise it'll take me half an hour to sort through and picture match. And honestly, I don't think anyone really cares. Oh, never mind. There we go. It's a Spruce Street Bridge. Spoke too soon, didn't I? Well, just know that I'm willing to make exceptions for you to keep you, the viewer, from being bored with me. And if there's anything interesting about this bridge, we'll get to the bottom of it right now. Well, it was built between 1900 and 1902. There were 6 identically designed bridges across... there you go. I knew they looked alike. Across the newly constructed Michigan Lake Superior Power Company Canal. And the story goes... Let me back it up here. This bridge allegedly was crossing the man-made Edison-Sioux Electric Company Power Canal, which was dug in the last decade of the 19th century to create a hydroelectric power generation facility using the water from Lake Superior, which just flows through a 21-foot drop into the lower St. Mary's River for the power source. And in 1900, they drew the bridge up, and it's made of iron components, probably steel. We're told here in 1973, indicating Highway State Transportation Department considered it unsafe for public service use. At one point, it was painted dark green as determined by visual observation of paint chips examined at the bridge without permission. Wow, unbelievable. Yeah, so I don't know if it's still there or not. That's all they say. I'm not sure what this is in there. This looks very historic. Yes. A drawing. Just threw that in there. Some children's art. Thought you guys would appreciate it. This is the Williams House at Hotel Williams in Murray Bay, Alger County, in the town of Munising. And this is one of the oldest American Fur Company buildings, as the one-time home of Abraham Williams, the American Fur Company trader. That's why it's important. It's thought to have been built around 1860, but there's no real notes or anything like that, you know? It's just sort of like it's just like a speculation, and based on the structure and the hardware and things like that. And it's presently vacant. And in fact, this whole little area are all part of the Hotel Williams, I guess, is what they're calling it. Although calling it a hotel is a bit of a stretch. I'd rather call it log building number 1, like the document says. But all these little weird little buildings, wow, what a great picture right there, is part of this complex here that were part of the original fur trade. Well, at least they think so. They think it was constructed for the American Fur Company. And in 1901, it was purchased by the Cleveland Cliffs Iron Company. I'm sure that there's been some alterations over the time, replacing roofs and things like that. Where the grass is overgrown down by the shoreline. And there is some trees as well present. Yes. Just some trees. I'm not sure why they call it a hotel, really. I mean, that's that kind of a joke. I don't know, like a hotel to me. And I've stayed in some busted hotels, okay? So I'm not judging. I'm just saying. That don't match what the brochure looked like, okay? This here is the Petриeville Bridge spanning Grand River in Eaton County. And it's to be replaced, as it's been closed to traffic for years. At least at the time of this writing. So we're told that there was an unincorporated town which was named Petrieville, which is no longer in existence. And there was a dam just upstream from the structure that provided power for a grist mill and an axe handle factory. In 1914, a tornado demolished the structure. Mrs. Elizabeth Kellogg, another Kellogg of Eaton Rapids, then a young girl, states that she saw the bridge twisted up and laying in the river. Well, that just puts you as a star witness and prime suspect at the same time. No reference concerning the bridge can be found in either the records or who rebuilt the structure after the tornado destroyed the original bridge. No information is available. There are no nameplates, no identifying marks, no nothing. One wonders why it's even on here then. To be quite frank, like what's the point of putting it on there if you can't offer us no damn information? Especially when it just looks kind of like a standard war and trust bridge, you know? But there it is. Don't be mad at me, I'm just the relayer of information. Hopefully don't get bogged down a bunch of bridges, i.e. Connecticut. I won't let that happen. But this is the West Ninth Street Bridge in Eaton Rapids, and it's one of the only 2 known highway bridges built in Michigan by the Canton Bridge Company from Ohio, one of the nation's leading bridge building firms at one time. 1894, although it wasn't the original bridge, there was an unknown type that was there earlier, but the one that was there in 1893 was condemned as unsafe and ordered closed. And so a bunch of bridge builders showed up, and they were each given 5 minutes to describe their plans for a new bridge, and they drew lots in order to see which numbers are called, and they explained them to the council, and then they awarded the contract. It seems like a strange way to do that. You guys only have 5 minutes to tell me how you're going to build a bridge. Oh, and then draw straws. Either way, that's how it was done, and so it goes. There's your bridge, okay? Looking just like all the other ones. And in 1979, actually, this bridge was determined that this one needed to be replaced as well. So, I guess if it lasts for 80 years, that's not too bad. Not a bad investment, I guess. I mean, could you build a bridge that lasts 80 years? Shh. Get out of here. Probably not. This here beauty is the 36th Street Bridge spanning Rabbit River. Despite it being one of the only bridges of its type here in Michigan, it was destroyed, demolished in 1986, along with the original plans. Well, those were destroyed a long time ago. Wincoop and McGormley were the builders, and it is no longer here in this world, or if it is, I guess it's been replaced, but this one's not. The one you see pictured here, not there any longer. This is the Redridge Steel Dam, the Salmon Trout River, Bacon Hill. It is no longer in operation, we are told, but the water supply, impounded by the log dam, which was built by the Atlantic Mining Company across the Salmon Trout River in 1894, proved inadequate when the Baltic Mining Company built a stamp mill on Lake Superior just west of the river. And so the 2 new mining companies decided to jointly build a new dam and share the larger water supply. Because of a lack of suitable stone in the region, they decided to build a steel gravity dam, making this structure only the second dam of that design in the United States. The first one was a 46-foot high dam near Ash Fork, Arizona, which was built by the Wisconsin Bridge Company in 1897. This was designed by J.F. Jackson. I didn't know they had steel for them early boys. This is the, although it says Grand Rapids Art Gallery, it originally was known as the Abraham Pike House, who was a prosperous businessman and active public servant in the area. Prosperous indeed. That's quite a looker. Mr. Pike brought 4 of the 6 columns to Grand Rapids for the front portico of his house. Those 4. They were cut down in height from 7.5 diameters to nearly 6 1/3. They show excellent workmanship, and it is inconceivable that they were built in the wilderness at Port Sheldon. Hold on a second. I have literally read that exact same description from somewhere else about 4 of the 6 columns from a different building being brought here, and that phrase, inconceivable they were built in the wilderness at Port Sheldon, that exact phrase has been uttered by me reading a home on one of these surveys. Was it this one? And this is just featured in it twice? It's possible. I'd have to go back and find out. Okay, mystery solved. I literally did say that exact same thing because it was the exact same house. It's on the survey twice. It's on there earlier, then now they've gotten different photos of it after it becomes this art gallery, and they use the same friggin' write-up. How about that? I might have never known that had I not just had the steel trap of a brain that mommy gave me at birth. I don't know why I said it like that. You know what I'm saying, dude. Anyways, problem solved. We've been through that one before. Now it's an art gallery. Abraham Pike House. Everything I said before in Michigan, Volume 2. You can go back and listen to it there because I'm not repeating myself this time, okay? This is the South Main Street Bridge. What's going on here, dude? It looks like it's like crying. You know what I mean? Like it's got like these sad eyes and it's weeping, you know? Maybe it's got stunner shades on. That's what the bricks are. And it kind of has this little Michael Jackson mouth. It's like, just the other night, I thought I heard you cry. Doing that. Can you see it? There's his little mouth here. Don't be sad, concrete Michael. We can heal the world together. We can kill the pain with love. Eliphalet Turner House. In Grand Rapids, Michigan is the name of this one, a mid-19th century townhouse of Greek revival type with exceptionally fine entrance and unique stair rail. Architect was Gideon Colton, made out of stone, and it was the first stone house of note built on the west side of the river. A soft stone of pleasing gray, locally known as river stone. There are no fireplaces. William Patton purchased it in 1895, whose widow still resides there, Mr. Patton being the glass cutter, not the general, and he removed the old cut-up sash substituting single lights and the blinds and all that. A unique feature of the interior, which, wow, grand entrance, which we're gonna find out if they're gonna show us. Nice, they do. It's a stair handrail which terminates over the newel in the carved form of a man's hand. See it there, dude? See the man's hand on the stairwell? It's a little weird, but nevertheless, it is engraved with G. Colton Builder, and the stair parts are made of red cherry. Handrail, get it? Mr. Colton, you're so good. You really have your finger on the pulse of what is funny. There's an extreme close-up of said hand. Just make one little adjustment here, and that's better. Thanks, Mr. Colton. Yeah, I'm just as bad at jokes as you are, dude. Juvenile, I swear. And what we have here is the the Rock Harbor Lodge Guest House in Rock Harbor, in Copper Harbor, in Keweenaw County, in Michigan. And of this we are told that the guest house was completed in 1924, and it was the last development of the Rock Island Lodge before the National Park Service took it over. There was tourism here ever since the 1850s, when everything else started. Newt Knutson established the hotel, I should say, during this period after vacationing at Matson's Tobin Harbor Resort. It was held under the name Park Place Hotel Company, which was to directly operate the resort until World War I, when it was closed to the public. In 1922, he hired his daughter Bertha to manage the resort under the agreement that he would build a modern lodge building, the guest house, for visitor accommodations. They changed the name to Rock Harbor, deeded the property to Bertha Farmer after a few years. This was, of course, before the growth of private summer homes in the area. Tourism and resorts like Park Place Hotel expanded throughout the early 1900s, with a slowdown during World War I, of course. After the sinking of the America in 1928, and the closing of the Booth Company operations within a year, the resort era on Isle Royale began its decline. Unreliable transportation, national depression, and of course they made Isle Royale a national park. So it basically was purchased by the National Park Service after that, and the guest house was to be removed. It took 2 years to build, which is actually the first reasonable build time on anything that we've ever come across in any of these surveys that I can recall pretty much ever. And it's too bad that they just destroyed it, because it seems like it's fine, but what do I know? I know nothing. I'm just a guy looking at pictures, like this one. This excellent quality picture of Fort Mackinac, which actually we already looked at once before too. So I don't know why we're going back over some of this stuff, but we only go where the survey takes us, okay? And this is where they're taking us, so that's where we're going. Okay? And there she is, the ramparts of Fort Mackinac. And this write-up for this, the information of this is so, it's impossible to read, really, because the way they Xeroxed it or whatever. But from these rough pictures, it looks to me like, oh, there's the little cannon. I'm sure you put a cannon behind this little picket fence. I'm sure that's enough cover for it. Looks to me as if it was an old star fort. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it was, based on the drawings. But the story of it is, this island, Mackinac Island, was the object of contention of 3 nations before the beginning of the century. Obviously, it ended up being as part of this nation. Yeah, the write-up is really impossible to read, to be quite honest with you. But I can say that the architect is unknown, and it's part of the State Park of Mackinac Island, which belongs to the state of Michigan. And they think it was probably Lieutenant Governor Patrick Sinclair. The walls of limestone, and there's parts of it that are made of loose rubble and refuse. The ramparts of Fort Mackinac today enclose a much smaller area than originally laid out by their British builders, which is who they're accrediting, the building to. Dude, constructing probably in 1798 is what they think, but I mean, probably not. Over the years, there are, like in 1793, for example, a 40-foot long piece of the wall slid down the hill, and so numerous repairs have been done, which have obscured the original work. The old stone walls are in very good condition. Of the original log work and the sort of the wooden picketing stuff you saw earlier there, nothing remains. Built of local cedar, which is easily rotted. And they have done a coping of the ramparts in concrete to replace the old logs, which is a vast improvement over the former, but it does cover up the original construction. And as you can tell, it looks like it's rather submerged into the ground. It's hard to tell from these old photographs, which predate 1934, as well as that information as to what kind of a structure it is that we're actually looking at here. Really, if you could take like a panoramic view, I'm sure you'd see that there's a lot more to it than that. But from what I recall, it's essentially a staffet that has basically been repurposed with a nice little chapel inside. Just look at that. How pretty. Like I said, I think I mentioned once before, I knew someone who worked in Mackinac Island many moons ago. In the summers, I guess there's a big yacht race or something. These are plans for the Chrysler Corporation, which actually is not photographed in here, but I saw they kind of skipped it. It was built by Albert Kahn, the same guy that built the motor plants out there on the West Coast, too. The Ford motor plant and things like that. But for the purpose of this survey, it just gets skipped. Here's an old rustic log cabin that someone's trying to pretend is important, but I'm not going to fall for that trap. No, sir. Wow, this one's kind of interesting. This is part of the White Deer Lake Camp. The White Deer Lake Camp Island buildings are significant because of their association with the McCormick family of the Midwest's leading industrial families, and it's a representative example of recreational lodge/resort design in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Log construction with skilled craftsmanship. And these pictures were taken around 1968, and so there's no telling what the state or status or condition of the buildings are now. But they seem to be built in many pieces at many different times, based on the strange elevations and things. And that's fine craftsmanship indeed. Look at those. That's very nice. Interesting mixture of log and stone. Somebody knew what they were doing, for sure. Look at that. That's pretty dope. The dresser, the drawers built right into the wall there. That is some resourceful. Wow. Even the door handle made of wood. The whole thing? That's legit. You're gonna need that fly swatter, though. For them skaters, you are gonna need that. And there's allegedly a construction photo, which is too washed out to make any conclusions. You know, this one actually makes sense. You know, scaffolding that looks legitimate, people that are actually doing things, materials not just thrown everywhere and piled all around. I mean, maybe a little bit, but not like some of those other pictures that were shown. I don't know if it's just these two guys working on it. It seems a little far-fetched, but unless it took them a long time. But I mean, at least you see visible tools and things that look like, you know, they're possible. I have no reason to doubt these here photographs. I mean, it's quite impressive. I think it'll take a lot more than two guys, but you know what I'm saying, dude. What about you? Brr, 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 brr. Yeah. Just about enough of you. Tired of you build screaming at me. Whoa, that old photograph is sick. Picture looks weird though, huh? This looks like it's 3D compared to the rest of it. Something odd about that. Ooh, someone using a racial slur. And this is quite a lot of attention to detail on these few cabins out here. That's pretty dope. The boathouse right there. And these are awesome. Very cool. I mean, look, they're really great fun to stay at. But I don't really see the significance too much. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go ahead and streamline through that. Because it doesn't really help us solve the riddles of what's going on in this world and country. This one's got no information. This lovely old world bridge. Got no number to look up. No nothing. And it is looking rather different, like a different era than these steel ones that we saw earlier, doesn't it? Looks like it's been patched on with concrete or something. But yeah, looks like a completely different style of bridge and maker. Wow, was this back then? Look at that. What's going on there? This looks like old ruins on either side. And that looks much more detailed than it used to be. Wow, so what happened? Okay, so look at here. See these? It's got this nice detailing. And this stone here, and now it's just stripped down to nothing. What happened here? At one point, it was a sharp-looking bridge. What is all this? That's what I mean, man. There's so many weird mysteries to this stuff. This must be a pedestrian portion, also looking very ornamented for what it is. Curious. Too bad I can't find any information about that one. No way to look it up. No nothing. That is bizarre. This is the Anen Brown commercial building of brick build, we're told. First store operated by Daniel and Anen Brown, located in the south part of the building, now occupied by Woolworth's 5 and 10 cent store. The partnership lasted 4 years. There was at once a much larger complex involving a mill and some other things, and this is all that's left. Now we're back in Detroit here. This is the Fairview Sanitarium, or 404 East Perry Avenue house. This is a sanitarium. Dr. Robert Greenidge, who's also responsible for the founder of the Dunbar Hospital, converted this home into a sanitarium. There used to be a passage that connected the house next door to it as well, but now it's been vandalized in poor condition. All the fixtures have been stolen or destroyed, and I'm not sure what's going on, if it's going to be rebuilt or not. Hard to say. Doesn't look that big from here. You wonder how it could be a sanitarium, but then you see the other pictures here and you realize it's definitely a much bigger building than it looks like. That's for sure. And this is the passage that actually connects the two houses together. But as you can see, the inside of the sanitarium is actually looking more like a place that you would go to be insane. This is the Basso Building. The first construction on Woodward Avenue, north of the Grand Boulevard, took place in the mid-1880s, allegedly, when Detroit had a population of less than 200,000, with no development more than 2 miles from the river. In 1882, the Bagg family and Joseph Horton jointly gave up for public use a 60-foot wide strip, which became Horton Avenue. There was a large brick residence in 1885 along this that was destroyed so that this could be constructed in 1913. The Basso brothers erected this general use speculative office building in 1915. The Basso brothers, Victor, Michael, and Albert, were not longtime Detroit residents when they bought the land. They initially worked for a fruit auction company. Michael Basso is the first reference in the old records. Manager and fruit broker. Architect unknown for this bad boy. And allegedly in 1921, they added the 5 stories on top, which is why the building looks different here from the rest of it. Though, however, there's some controversy around this because there were old snapshots of the photo that appeared to show it looking the same before 1925. So you never know what happened there, you know. It's hard to say. From the back, it doesn't look like 2 buildings, really. It does look a little odd, and then this one is censored for some reason, which I find to be always weird. But fantastic little detailing here. Wow, look at it up close. It looks amazing. Wow, it's hard to see from those faraway pictures. Look at that thing. That's a beauty. That is a real old world banger. Golly. Those pictures from afar don't do it justice. That is sweet. You can see that they've painted all these little ornamentations, and well done, sirs. This is a really exceptional looking building. Oh my God. The frick happened in here? My God. Completely destroyed. For shame. Here's an amazing old little theater here. And I forgot, this is Detroit. Just about everything's gonna end in sadness here. Though I'm told it's kind of coming back. I can't say that for certain. But this theater is actually adjacent to the building, as you can see here. So all these buildings just have this amazing facade, this whole front. Yeah, there it is, attached. It's kind of sandwiched in between. How cool. What a time to be alive. Good gollywalker, look at this one. Beautiful. This here's the Fiser Building. Not much about it somehow, but it's superbly designed. We are told one of the finest craftsmanship in any Art Deco style building in the U.S. in the 1920s. And somehow, for such an amazing thing, there were pedestrian skywalks that were planned to connect us to a new office building, but, and that's really all we're told about it. How can that be? I have no idea, but Albert Kahn constructed it, the same guy that constructed all the Ford motor plants and things like that, we're told, somehow. Somehow he had time for this one, too, and we're told 1928 it was constructed, and I don't even know how that's even possible. Just look at that thing. That is fantastic. There's massive sconces right here. Always a dead giveaway that you're looking at something from the old world. What a beautiful building. And as of the 80s, at least, it was in good condition, so hopefully it's still a thing. Man, on a side note, as far as organization goes, this Michigan survey is really a difficult one to track down information about this stuff within the survey itself, of course. This is the General Motors building, if you couldn't tell by the top piece there, and is the headquarters of the General Motors Company. When it was under the leadership of Alfred P. Sloan, and it became the automobile manufacturer leading in the United States. 15 stories. Takes up a whole city block. We're told it's in good condition. We're told it's faced in travertine and gray Tennessee marble. And Albert Kahn somehow also was the architect behind this one as well. How it's possible, I have no idea, but that is a fantastic looking building, man. God, what do all those people do? How many offices do you need? That entrance. If they'll show us that entrance, that looked super cool. What? They don't even show us the entrance? Well, you can kind of see it here on the page over here. How would you not show us that? Seems like nothing inside, huh? Surveys are weird, man. They'll show you 50 pictures of a log cabin, but they won't show you the most amazing stuff. Why is that, eh? What's going on around here? I find it to be maddening, personally, because it's like they gotta have more pictures information. They whittled it down to one page and a handful of pictures. Like, why do they do that? It just makes no sense. Like everything frickin' world. Doesn't make no dang sense. This is the Olympia Arena. From its opening in October 1927 until its closing in 1979, it was Detroit's principal indoor arena for sporting events, rock concerts, political conventions, all that sort of stuff. Designed by C. Howard Crane, an internationally known theater architect, and it also contained the largest indoor skating rink in the United States when it opened in 1927. That's a fact. The premier theater architect in the country, C. Howard Crane, Charles Howard Crane, was born in Hartford, 1885. At the age of 18, he completed high school and began his active career as a draftsman. Moved to Detroit at the age of 20 and worked in the offices of Albert Kahn. Launched an independent practice at age 24 and quickly earned a reputation as a specialist in the design of theaters. Somehow. No, it seems like he didn't ever work on any theaters until this one, but his first theater was built on Monroe, Madison Theater, and in Detroit's booming Grand Circus Park Entertainment District. By the end of his career, he had completed 250 theaters in the United States, with more than 50 in Detroit alone. Yes, we heard that last time. And this one is definitely not as fancy as that last one that we saw, or heartbreaking, but it's massive by the standards of the day for sure. My lands. Rather ordinary compared to most of his work, but still, it's quite impressive as a feature, architectural feat of engineering it. Why does that guy just look like he's just inserted into this picture so fakely? Okay. Probably because he is. But whatever. Who knows why people fake things? So much is faked in this freaking world. Drives me bonkers. Just show us the real stuff. Oh, that's a tragedy. Oh, the survey showed it too late. Oh, man, we were just going to do right about this, but you're too late, bro. It's already smashed and gone. Look at it. There's a dust cloud from up the street. How sad. Now what? Now I guess take pictures of the empty lot and go home. God. What is that? Why would they even do that? Why would they even include those in the survey? Just to bum you out? Oh, you could have seen it, but no. This is a weird one. This is the Pole Town Historic District, is what we're told. This is the Aluminum and Brass Corporation. It's presently vacant, and it was scheduled for demolition in 1981, this year, which means she's already gone. Even though it looks, at one point, it was pretty cool looking. And this whole complex is part of it. This whole complex is part of that district. Wow. Don't tell me even this one, too. No, that'd be heartbreaking. This is St. Michael's Greek Catholic Church, built for predominantly Polish congregation. Built in 1924, we are told. And yeah, to be demolished 1981. With its copper domes and everything. Unbelievable. Art Deco stained glass. They're not even going to let it last for 60 years. Not even 60 years they're going to destroy this thing. What a freaking joke. Look at that thing. With a basement and everything. Wow. And demolished. For what purpose? That is seriously, I can see they're already taking down some of the things. Like, sure you can. Man, what a tragedy. This is also a Pole Town Historic District. This is the Immaculate Conception Church. God, look at that thing. It looks incredible. It was built also in 1928, allegedly. Over 50 years of service to the largely Polish American parish. Unbelievable. Clerestory windows and stained and painted glass along the aisles. And it was used as a church all the way up until its demolition, July 17th, 1981. Unbelievable that you would demolish this building. What happened to Detroit? This is sinister. These churches are incredible. All these buildings. And really just unbelievable. How do we allow this to happen in our cities? This is so tragic. I'm sure they moved to a location in a shopping mall and they were just fine with it. Like, why didn't the church protest against this? Like, what kind of spineless, gutless worms are we producing in this world? Look at this statuary and everything. This is insane. You know, I feel like they knocked this stuff down because it's a cover-up. Personally, it doesn't make any sense. And the whole point is to demoralize and demean. I mean, I can't prove it, but that's my own personal viewpoint. That powers that be, love to take something large and beautiful like these churches and just destroy it and beat it down into something tiny and meaningless in a strip mall. You want to have your church in a strip mall? Fine. You have a large building? Like, no. And I mean, this is not even a theory. There's so many documents that have been declassified. You can go read about the war that the CIA and all the other footstools of the big money guys, the war that they've waged on art and everything over the years for various reasons. They take over all markets and they destroy the existing ones. Now, maybe you don't care about architecture. Maybe you don't care, about buildings. Maybe it doesn't mean anything to you. Okay, well, substitute, whatever that you do care for and put it in the place of this. They're doing that as well. They're destroying everything. Health, land, oceans, water, privacy, spirit, self-determination, everything, and reforming it and reshaping it into something new and different. Whatever is working behind the scenes, maneuvering people in a particular direction, they use a network of ideas that have somehow a possessive or an animating spirit that possesses people, and they act in accordance with these ideas. Destroy all the good things that are there, replace it with a manufactured thing that they are in control of. Promote decadence, destroy all standing norms, replace them with a new world order. And you see it on full display here, because there's literally no reason why they would allow a log cabin It's completely dilapidated to stand and take 20 pictures of it and take 2 pictures of one of the most gorgeous churches you ever seen in your life and destroy it. For what? Like, they're not taking care of anything else in this area. Like the sidewalks. I mean, none of this infrastructure is taken care of. But they're going to destroy a church, which may be the only building bringing people hope just by its existence? Terrible. A tragedy. And almost criminally cruel, honestly. But if you have a trashy building with the windows smashed, then no problem. They'll leave that up they'll leave it up forever. What a joke. These piss me off when I come across segments of the survey like this. Takes all the joy out of it. All these schools, gone. All these buildings is all part of this historic district. Everything you're looking at here. And they're all gone. They're all just demolished, pulverized. This little Goodwill Community Chapel, all gone. And for what? To hide what? To hide the fact that you didn't really build them? Yeah? To hide the fact that this stuff doesn't make sense, these doors down here, so you gotta cover up your evidence? Is that what it's all about? How pathetic is that? Just taking credit for something you didn't build, so you have to destroy it for everybody. This is the Detroit Steel Products Company plant, that is. Now, this one is in complete disrepair. I would say this one is actually dangerous, maybe, and an eyesore, and God knows what kind of monsters are lurking inside after nightfall. I can understand that, but I don't know how the industry collapses around it. I think it's the government's job to maintain these industries and make decisions that benefit the people. I'm not sure how it gets to this point, how you chase all the production out of the country. I mean, I think I know, but either way, they're failing the people at some point. Has there ever been people that are worse at their jobs than our Congress? My God. Outside of a few bright points, they're just literally just a worthless bunch of individuals. This is the Hervey Park Elementary School, built by Malcolmson and Higginbottom, one of the first. In 1981, the same year as the rest of everything, the Detroit Board of Education vacated and terminated the building's elementary school program. Of course. Then the main section was damaged by fire, and it was also destroyed in 1981. Unbelievable. This one also, 1981 was just the death knell for Detroit. This building is gorgeous. No, it's gonna destroy it all. Look at that's the back part of it. My God, what a cool building. How are you gonna destroy that? Welcome to Detroit indeed. Man, I knew this was gonna be a heartbreaker, but I didn't realize to this extent. So preventable. This one doesn't even have a single page write-up about it. Because who cares? It's all destroyed. Literally, all these are destroyed. Wish I was lying. I'm not. They're all gone, folks. All these beautiful buildings are gone. Maybe not this one. This is the William Reed and Company building. A rare surviving example of commercial architecture. Wow, of Gordon Lloyd. Completed toward the end of his distinguished career. Lloyd designed churches and private residences and all sorts of stuff from 1860 to early 1890s. William Reed was in the plate glass trade and he used this building for wholesaling in 1890 to 1908. And this is a mitigative measure prior to the demolition of the building, 1986. Okay, wow. Here I was, daring to trust a hope in this forsaken land. Wow. And it's such a cool building. What a complete disgrace. God. Thoroughly depressing. The amount of wanton destruction and waste. Craftsmanship, the likes of which we won't see again. Building from 1892. Look at that wonderful. And we're going to destroy it. Now I wonder why. Why would you destroy a building like that? That was built in 1892. Isn't that historic enough? No? Okay. Not historic enough for you, huh? Okay, well, whatever. Just go ahead and twist a knife in my heart. Beast. The Detroit Edison Hart substation. And this one here is an electrical power substation, although it seems strange to build one that looked like this, but I guess they did. And of course, this too is a mitigative measure prior to the destruction of the building, so wow, I don't even know what to think. They're just selecting the most beautiful things that we've got in the city and then just destroying it? Like for what freaking purpose was any of this ruined? Did they even say? We're told that this building's in great condition. There's 3 levels, there's a 9-foot deep basement, and the only reason that they made this write-up is because they're destroying it. Same things we saw in California. How insulting. Gee, thanks. We'll really appreciate it now. They're buried in this survey. Go through, take pictures, yeah. Knock it down. Well, what a disgrace. I'm thoroughly disgusted. Aw, man. Just look at the sheer scale of these buildings. Man, this is so strange. There's no way anything you build, you would allow to be destroyed like this after like 40 years. God, how thoroughly disappointing. How about this one, huh? You still around there, buddy? You delicious birthday candle building, what I likes to call them, man, with the little top there. It's like it's dripping. Come on, give me some good news. Come on, give me some good news. This is the Buell Sons Company Complex. All right. So far, so good. Built in 1920. Significant on 2 grounds. Historical associations with the Buell Company family, I guess. Reckon it was an unusually ornate example of a warehouse designed by John Scott in 1919 and finished in 1 year. Okay, less than a year actually. That's not very believable at all. Designed for use as a garage, huh? Okay. I mean, the story is retarded. This architect guy, John Scott, born in England before joining his father's firm in Detroit, best known for building prisons and hospitals, and had a remarkable career, we're told. He actually was mayor of Detroit for 2 years, and the vice president of the Second National Bank right after that, of course. And he was a co-founder of the Michigan State Bank, I see, and the Buell Land Company, and of course, yeah. President of the pharmaceutical firm. What didn't he do? He's one of those hidden families there that have all the wealth, and they owned the whole block. I see. Slated for demolition, 1986. Wow, way to pay it forward, you bastard. Look at that beautiful building. Golly. No wonder Detroit is such a painful place. Imagine living there and watching this all happen. It would be tragic, man. What a shame. Wow, that's super cool. A little slide. Yay, for kids. Tires or whatever they roll down there. Not no more. No tire will ever roll again. And that's thoroughly depressing. All of this is, I find this all to be very, very disturbing. This whole complex was once owned by them. For some reason, they have just decided to allow it all this old world wonder, to just be destroyed. And from the look of Detroit, they didn't put anything up in its place. Look at that brickwork. Man, that is startling. And this is actually maybe the saddest stretch of any of these surveys that I've ever come across. Unbelievable that they are destroyed all of these buildings. I've had all I can hint. No, I'm not even going there. I've had all the heartbreak I can take for one day. I'll see you guys soon.